My image of Mexico is all about colour, and my work is also all about colour. So I wanted to visit Mexico to experience its colour palettes, its cities, its culture. My first series of paintings was all about cityscapes, and my last series was about water, light and reflections. I wanted to research a new subject matter that combined cities and water, so I chose Mexico. I took a month-long trip travelling from the Caribbean coast of the Yucatan Peninsula inland through the states of Campeche, Chiapas, Tabasco and Oaxaca, through jungles, mountains, valleys and cities. Painting on location is a really important part of my practice because it adds a spontaneity and an authenticity to my work. I'm responding to the colours and the shapes that I see rather than to the altered colours and shapes you get from photography. Painting on the street can be good if you can find a quiet spot, though you'll always draw some interest from the people around you, so you have to be prepared for that. If you can find a terrace to paint from, this is a really relaxing way to paint because you're away from the crowds and you often get a great panoramic view. In Oaxaca, I travelled in the back of a truck 45 minutes into the Sierra Norte mountains to visit an attraction called Hierve el Agua, or the water boils. It's a natural pool and calcified waterfall at the top of one of the mountains with breathtaking views of the Sierra Norte mountain range. I was inspired to do a sketch from around the corner on another calcified waterfall. The scenery was just spectacular, and I was being circled by eagles in the sky as I painted. I'm very inspired by large mountainous scenes. They remind me of the scenery from where I used to live as a child in Umbria, and they also remind me of David Hockney's incredible Grand Canyon paintings. I love the colours, the shapes, and the sense of distance you can create by painting the more hazy colours in the distance. From my time in Mexico, the subject that stood out for my next series of work was the water landscapes that I visited. I decided to call my next series Mangalares, which is Spanish for mangroves. I was most inspired by the mysterious and dangerous waters of the mangroves and the sinkholes, or cenotes. So I went in the water, in with a snorkel and an underwater camera, swimming with all sorts of wildlife, caiman, manatees, mosquitoes, crabs. This particular mangrove was also a sinkhole with the longest underwater caverns in the world, running underneath in a labyrinth of 250 kilometres. I was looking for interesting views to paint, particularly interesting plants, roots and reflections in the water. These studies will help me towards my bigger paintings in the studio. I was lucky to visit some museums and art galleries, especially in Oaxaca, and I was impressed by the level of political activism connected with art in Mexico. Walking around Mexico, you notice the amount of murals on the walls, and you also notice the political graffiti, often anti-corporate. Water is also clearly a very political subject in Mexico. It is almost impossible to buy water that is not branded by a multinational. I've started developing my new series using watercolour on wood. It makes sense for me to use watercolour as water is the essential element in the mix, and the fluidity is ideal to depict reflections. I want my new series to be a celebration of natural and pure sources of water and a reminder of the precariousness of the world's resources of water.